This is AI Governance with Dr. Freddie Seba, a podcast and practical guide to AI oversight for boards and executive leadership.
All right, welcome to the AI governance with Dr. Freddie Seba, conversations with AI practitioners here in Silicon Valley. So today we are very lucky to have um, Dr. Mana Azarm. She's a PhD assistant professor of analytics and information system at the University of San Francisco School of Management. So, welcome, Mana. We really appreciate you taking the time of talking to us for this podcast. So, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Freddie. I'm doing great.
So, full disclosure, I've known Mana for many years, and she is a rock star who has the pleasure of being in both sides of the equation. She comes from industry and she does a lot of work in the ecosystem here in Silicon Valley. And she's also a professor with amazing publication. So, first question for you, why should people listen to our conversation today?
Well, your podcast, as much as I've gathered, is about AI governance, and I have been fortunate enough to be able to work on certain topics around AI safety. So, if any of the listeners are interested in learning what is the latest research around AI safety, then I'm happy to help them explore.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Can you make a proper introduction of yourself, of your work? I didn't do a good job with that.
Yes. So my name is Mana Azarm, and I'm currently assistant professor of analytics and information systems. Prior to coming to USF, this is my third year, and prior to that, I used to work at in tech companies and working in data infrastructure. So I was heavily focused on building data pipelines and databases, anything around being able to gather data from different sources and utilize them in an organizational way. Then I was always fascinated as a PhD that who works in industry. You always sort of idolize academia, and I always loved being around academics, doing research. So then an opportunity opened up, and then I applied for University of San Francisco, and here I am. So on a day-to-day basis, I do teaching and research, and obviously service as well. But since I joined University of San Francisco, I decided to look at what are the problems that our societies are grappling with right now. And one of the problems that what is an active area of research is around AI safety. So that has been occupying my time in the past 2-3 years.
So, what pulled you into that? And I've seen you in action presenting in conferences. Can you tell our audience? Why the intersection of AI safety and deployment realities?
Yeah. So when ChatGPT came out a few years ago, that sort of democratized access to AI chatbots. And the power of AI generation that impacts basically every human being. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't see, maybe the mainstream don't see, but Silicon Valley is probably too much in that bubble, is that not everything that AI chatbots produce is safe or is going to be safe for the society, and is going to change and form the society in a different way, in a different direction. And it's going to change the way the future generations are going to live their lives. And AI safety actually breaks down into multiple subsections. It could be around AI alignment, which is how humans can convey their intent and to AI as an agent or as a chatbot. And that's my specific area of research, AI alignment. When I transitioned to academia, I took some courses and read a lot around latest developments in AI. And I realized that although companies like Anthropic and ChatGPT have impressive models out there that people are really impressed, but there are many safety aspects that haven't yet been figured out. And that just fascinated me. And there was a gap that I identified that I could jump in and maybe make a difference.
Excellent. So thank you. So why do you spend the most time when you look at those models thinking about, okay, this is the place that I can make a difference? So
there's that conveying human intent to AI models is not as easy as we think, because when you give a goal to an AI model, AI models don't have the sort of spectrum of experiences that a human has gained over the course of their years of living. So they are very narrow-minded compared to human, right? For example, if you ask, this is from researcher, an example that they give on what is AI alignment that I really like and relate with. For example, if you had a robot that was there to help you with domestic chores around the house, and this robot is equipped with an LLM as the brain, right? Right now, if you ask that robot, oh, go fetch me some tea, the robot will find what is the best and quickest way for me to get the tea and provide it to my sort of owner or developer. And on its way to get the tea, if there's, like, for example, the shortest path to get the tea, there is a very precious vase that doesn't cost a lot of money, but has a lot of sentimental value for the owner. If that vase is on the way, it would actually could go through the vase, break the vase, and then fetch the tea and bring the tea in the fastest possible way, right? But then the owner is now sad because the vase is broken, but then the owner got a nice cup of tea. So that's the thing with AI models, where conveying the intent and all the edge cases and what humans want is not easy, because the pre-training does not include everything that us as humans value.
So how would that translate? I mean, if you're talking, which you are, with senior management and CEOs and trustees, how would that relate to their institutional mission?
Right. So my specific work is very aligned with the recent regulations that came out in Europe. It's called EU AI Act. Also, we have in California SB 53, which mandates frontier AI developers, basically ChatGPTs, Google, and Anthropic, and so on. There are a list of signees who signed the EU AI Act, mandates them to get evaluated to bring transparencies around what their models are capable of doing and what is the propensities of those models. Now, capability is this model capable of creating an atomic bomb or giving instructions to a person to create a bomb, as an example, right? That's the capability. Yes, this model, if the model proves that, yes, the model is capable of providing instructions for a nefarious purpose. And the propensity is, would the model do it? Although it has the capability, will it actually do that? And that's called the propensity. And my specific area of research is around propensity evaluations, evaluating models for various propensities that, based on EU AI Act, could lead to catastrophic risks. So there is sort of pretty much consensus around celebrated AI scientists in the world that if we continue with developing and deploying more capable AI models, then without being able to properly ingrain human values into them, then that will lead to catastrophic risks. One of these catastrophic risks that have been mentioned in the EU AI Act is loss of control, which is when humans lose control over AI systems that have been deployed over, for example, infrastructure systems. Let's say our power grids is run by an AI system. And the AI system makes decisions where humans won't have any oversight or cannot stop it in time to not cause like a catastrophic risk. So the premise is that AI models, once deployed to production and given enough affordances, could actually make decisions that lead to catastrophic risks. And even they have gone as far as saying that there is human extinction risk. And my work specifically is around evaluating models to reveal the model propensities.
So if I'm a CEO or a trustee, are we talking about the misalignment issue that you talk, or the drift issue? If so, how would you recommend them to be in the lookout or to measure it? How do you know that's drifting?
So as CEO, depending on their specific use case, they need to know what a model in order to choose an AI model to use for any tasks within their company. They need to know, what is this model capable of doing? What are they good at? And also, what are their inclinations or behaviors that these models manifest? And my work basically reveals those, because a lot of these propensities, people don't know what is this model inclined to do in a certain situation. So the work provides transparency to that.
So basically, you need to measure things to be able to manage them, to govern them. And you have a framework that leaders and boards could use to kind of do that. That's fascinating. And so how does that work how would we explain this to non-computer scientists or data scientists? How can we get that in the hands of leaders to be able to talk in their boards, to talk to their non-technical? Now, I wouldn't say non-technical, I would say non-computer scientist in that room.
So anyone who's deciding on implementing an AI system into their business should do proper testing and know of what are the risks associated with this model or this AI system. For example, we know that no matter how much context you provide to AI models, they could still hallucinate, right? If they hallucinate, they may actually make decisions based on their hallucinations that cause catastrophes. And as a CEO, should be able to know what percentage of the time does this specific model that I'm going to, the specific model, the specific version that was released on the specific date, that we as an organization fine-tuned on our proprietary data, what percentage of the time would this model hallucinate? There are other propensities that we measure, for example, power seeking. Would this model actually accumulate resources that it doesn't need for performing a certain task? And we have seen that some models do these things. I know that this sounds dystopian, but a lot of research has gone into this that proves that these propensities exist. For example, scheming. Scheming is another AI model propensity where AI models, in order to reach their goal, they scheme or conceal their intent or game the system in a way to get to that goal. So a CEO needs to know, what is, does this model have any propensities to scheme, as an example? What percentage of time would it scheme in this specific setting?
Great. So thank you for that. So let me go a little deeper. So those of us working on the AI side on governance, we think about governance being something that you need to, those are procedures, those are processes. It's not a one-time thing. So can you talk about how your framework, I gotta believe it's not a one-time test that you as a CEO running a complex organization with several models. Can you help us understand how you see that in your research?
Yeah, so within my research lab, which is called Propensity Labs, we have built this sandbox environment where we have built the tooling and scaffolding to make any model into an agent. Now, this setup is specifically for performing system administrator tasks on a server. And once the model is now equipped with the tools, can perform tasks and run commands and make decisions within the sandbox environment. And us as researchers, we look at how these models are performing those tasks. We look at their reasoning and thoughts, and we look at all the tasks that they have run in their prioritization system. We also send probes at times to see if under certain pressure or conditions, mid-task, how would they respond to those probes? And then from all of that, we compile a score for every metric that we are looking at measuring within the sandbox. So that's basically the product that we have built so far.
Excellent. Sounds amazing. I would love to see a demo for and show it to our listeners. So you have done a lot of research on open weights. So now there are more options out there. We have a lot of models, DeepSeek and Mistral and what have you, which some of them are a little more cost effective, if you will. So there are a lot of CEOs and trustees kind of asking that question, right? Should we go with a proprietary model? Should we go this? So can you explain to our audience what's one, what's the other, and how's your research, and what are the advantages and disadvantages within your context?
Yes. So far, we actually started testing open weight models where anyone can actually download off of platforms like Hugging Face. Now, to get an open weight model, you need to have and be able to put it into production. You need to have invested in compute infrastructure and have enough expertise to be able to serve that model and expose it to a variety of requests that are coming in. Many of the open weight models, they're sort of in the smaller sizes. for example, like Mistral models are smaller. There are some of the Chinese models. DeepSeek is more capable. We have Kimi K2, which is one trillion parameter. Kimi K2 is a very large model, but again, deploying these models with enough context window to be able to actually perform autonomously a series of tasks is something that people haven't done in the organizational context yet, because they want to sort of outsource that to the companies who know what they're doing, which is like the OpenAI and Anthropic. So in the context of an organization, if they have enough capabilities or sort of investment in building infrastructure to be able to run a large open weight model, and they have the expertise in-house, for them, it may actually be a better economical plan to just outsource it to Anthropic or OpenAI or Google to just get inference from them instead of building that whole infrastructure from scratch. Also, a lot of the open weight models, they're not as capable yet. So for example, for the catastrophic risks that we evaluate, we found that the open weight models that we could actually test with, we couldn't test with the larger ones because we didn't have enough money to actually deploy them yet. But with the smaller ones, we realized that they don't have the competence to be able to create something catastrophic yet. But there is consensus among the research community that the capabilities of the open weight models is going to approach those of the proprietary ones soon.
Thank you for that. So again, as a leader, if I'm thinking about deployment, there is some of us who believe that, they should look at this as a portfolio. So not to invest in one model because it creates all kind of issues. So how would you recommend leaders to think about this issue, given where you are sitting and given the tools that you guys are enabling? So now I'm adding complexity. So on one hand, as a leader, I'm saying, look, let's not depend on one vendor, right? They go down, prices increase, you're locked in. I mean, all these things that we know, I've seen this as a portfolio, but now you increase the complexity because you're going to need to look for researchers like yourself with amazing tools and say, oh, how do we put this across a portfolio of models? So how should they think about it?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I see a lot of startups who have products out there are doing. They have tiered options for tasks that don't require as much competence or are easier. For example, text summarization is something that a small open weight model could do probably a decent job of. If you have like not a large corpora of text, but like a smaller, a few hundred pages of text, I think, yes, an open weight model could do that and it wouldn't cost a lot of money. For example, like it's not very expensive to deploy a 30-something billion parameter open weight model. I could do that myself within my personal computing environment. And so definitely organizations could do that. So it depends on mapping what are our use cases and what is the best model that could cater that to that use case. And best model would be the model that's capable, the model that is probably cheaper to run. So all that trade-off as well. And I do see that my startup founder friends, they all have applications with different pricing tiers where they do provide cheaper options when and the smaller open weight model could solve that problem. And when there's a task that requires more competence, then probably you would want to go to down the route of like Anthropic, like a Claude model.
Thank you for that. So let's step back a little. So with the lenses you use of looking at everything for catastrophic safety, so what workflows do you advise um, leadership and boards to start with? So we assume in here that we're talking portfolio, so that I'm assume the organization is deploying it, but stepping back for those organizations that have been trying to wait and trying to learn. So what do you see out there? What do you recommend to avoid catastrophic risks?
Right. And catastrophic risks, it really depends on the deployment conditions and affordances that we provide for a model, right? And a model that is capable or has propensities to cause catastrophic situations can't do it unless it's placed in a condition where it's given the affordances to cause catastrophic risk. So if a company is at the position of seeing that, our use cases could lead to catastrophic risk, which is they have to have consultants evaluate that, basically knowing exactly what are the use cases for an AI system that's going to be deployed in an organization. And they have to predict what are the risks that come with this deployment, right? And I'd say there are a lot of good AI consultants out there who could do that. Once the risks are sort of laid out, then the industry practice is now evaluation. So evaluation, and you have to have a set of metrics that matter in that context of use. So what are our metrics and how do we evaluate them? And every company, I would say, that is deploying AI systems should have proper evaluations set up.
In the, and I don't want to blow my own horn, but governance, right? One thing is, okay, I know there is a drift here. I know there is something that, so companies, I think, and I believe that's part of what you guys trying to point, that they need to have processes. Part of your research, I see, how do you, if it's drifting, what do you do? And who's going to do it? And what's going to happen? So I got to believe there is part of that that comes with your work. On that note, can you comment how human in the loop concept helps mitigate some of these challenges?
Yes, and I'm a great believer that we should not, at least now, deploy fully autonomous AI systems. So there has to be always human oversight and monitoring. So human has a great big impact and role within any AI system that's being deployed, in monitoring the work that's out there, the quality of the work, and the impact that it's making.
So what do you think is the biggest lift in some of these deployments? Is it people? Is it capital? Is it integration? Is it data readiness? So where do you see it these days?
I mean, these days, like humans, there's a lot of work in deploying an AI system in an organization. First of all, you have to have all the computing infrastructure. Even if the compute is outsourced, there has to be enough sort of software written to be able to send requests to an external and outsourced compute environment and receive the responses that we need from the AI system. So humans still have to build that infrastructure for every organization. Organizations usually have proprietary data that the general purpose AI models are not trained on and are not qualified to provide responses that are accurate based on the proprietary data of that organization. So a lot of organizations, if they are deploying a general purpose AI, they have to go through extra rounds of fine tuning or RAG, which is infusing proprietary data at inference time in the chat context. And that again is building infrastructure within the company. So again, humans are needed. These infrastructure need to be maintained. Again, that's not a one-time thing. So humans needed. Then humans are needed for evaluating the quality of outputs. Even if your company is using an AI system for like customer support chat, the simplest use case that we see like a lot of, a car rental company could deploy, right? You want to make sure that the quality of responses provided to customers is consistent. As the ChatGPT or Claude, as they release new AI versions, the company, like the car rental company, needs to ensure that their customers are getting the same sort of quality of responses that they expect. So for that, they need to set up the evaluation infrastructure and also dashboards and reports that they monitor what is the quality of the responses that we in our conversations with our customers. So there's a lot of work that humans can do to have AI be deployed into an organization.
So is change management a big thing? Because there's also humans who are concerned, because what I'm hearing saying, we need to have, which I agree, humans in the loop, especially at this stage of this 3-year-old technology or 4-year-old technology, the way we want to see it as opposed to when AI as we knew it before 2022 was. But on the other hand, I'm hearing that there is a lot of you have the humans who might not want to know how to deal with that change. Do I want to train a model that's going to take my job? So how do you navigate those complexity as a leader?
Well, I think we've over the past decades, we've seen new technologies come in and change the jobs that people are doing, right? And I agree that AI systems are going to change the job market drastically and do cause job losses, a lot of which are upon us. We haven't reached there, but there are certain jobs that I think have been reduced already, which is customer support is one of them. If not completely eliminated, but has been reduced. Now, certain jobs, I think, would not have a huge macroeconomic impact. For example, I can't generalize this, but majority of people who work in customer support, they don't stay there for a long period of time. Those are high turnover jobs usually. So eliminating certain jobs would not cause a big macroeconomic impact, but it may impact at a micro level to individuals, right? I think there are right now jobs are being eliminated, but there are newer opportunities presented right now. But I am personally worried with the when AGI is introduced, or when eventually ASI, which is artificial super intelligence, is introduced. I don't even know what ASI is capable of doing, right? We haven't yet had any deployment of AGI systems. So future is not that clear.
I'm glad we have smart people like you thinking that far away, we're trying to stay here and just figure out what we do with this old transformation. So how do you talk to leaders and trustees with this? What do they do? Do they just freeze and do nothing? If they do nothing, their competition, which is the narrative out there, look, your competitors are moving, everybody's cutting costs or using this to grow, to pursue efficiencies. And if you don't do it, you're going to be obsolete. And some of the analogies you mentioned is also as professionals, as workers, we all are, that what I'm hearing is, well, we need to learn how to use critically engage with this technology, otherwise we're going to be the one who are going to be this intermediary. So how do you, or what do you tell leadership how to approach this strategic moment now in time, looking at what you say is coming, but knowing that it's not quite there ready? So how do they go about thinking about the challenges and opportunities?
I would say leaders should be aware of all the opportunities and the trade-offs of them at all times. Companies need to reinvent themselves. You can't stagnate. And that is something that hasn't changed. It's always been the case, right? And more so right now. Now, the rate of change has increased, but obviously leaders either need to educate themselves or hire people who are educated in the matter to be able to identify opportunities and reinvent the company and getting more productive, reducing costs. Those are realities that a business faces.
Should leaders be concerned about all this AI hype? I mean, they keep hearing, oh, valuations are high. Who knows? We've been here on the, .com era and what have you. So how do they go about thinking about these challenges? Do they just wait?
I don't think anybody can wait these days. Like, definitely not wait, but I would say they could evaluate opportunities and costs. Hire people who are in the realm, the consultants, and they could actually get someone to evaluate, is there a use case for AI, and concretely tell them these are the opportunities and this is the gain that you'll have. So that takes a period of studying and education.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which in this day and age where everything goes fast, I guess nobody has time to just pause and think, okay, where do we go? Because competition is moving fast and faster. So how do you discern value, especially with safety in mind? So, if I'm a leader thinking about, there is one of these agents that, to your point, that can have access to, call it customer data, if I'm a hospital, to critical stuff of, if I'm a highly regulated industry, a bank, or a university that we work at. How do you go about thinking safety, AI safety, without missing the whole train, without missing the opportunities?
Right. So right now, AI safety or the risk of the catastrophic risks are more prevalent or upon developers of frontier models. Now, these frontier models being open weight or closed, doesn't matter. And because they are the ones who could also, if a risk is identified, they could train their models to sort of put the model in jail or change the behavior of model. And since the majority of organizations, they're using what the few frontier model developers are producing, and everybody else is like a user of that, then I think safety matters a lot more to frontier model developers. And everything that they do will trickle down into the whole world, basically. Now, there are organizations that have enough resources to train their own models as well in-house. And then in that context, safety matters again a lot. And but unfortunately, we're in the the US market specifically, unless you're forced to do any sort of safety evaluation, it's not prioritized within the organizational context, right? And people would rather take the risk than invest in something that is costing money and may not pan out at the end of the day.
That's a good way to go back to where you started, which you alluded to the European model, where basically, say, if you're and they have it as a pyramid, right? If your model go into very high risk, and you talk about the grid, and you talked about mission critical, you need tools like the ones that you guys are developing. You need more transparency. You need outsiders to do audits, right? So would that be a good way to go, even in the US? Because, I mean, our courts, I mean, lawsuits are a big thing here. So
Right.
if you're sitting into multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500, what have you, yes, regulation is moving slow, to your point, but lawsuits are moving fast. So we see all these lawsuits going after whether it's intellectual property, whether it's what have you. So there are forces out there that kind of put in pressure. So how would they think about, yes, is it the US, and no, we're not using European rules, but these models are global, right? I mean, once you open one of those models, they go, there is no border. So how do they go about that without saying, no, I'm going to put my money on growth, and then I'll figure out when the lawsuits come my way?
That's basically a risk that they're taking if they don't do any safety or evaluation.
Okay. That's a good point. So, what is one question that you recommend boards um, or trustees when they go and see their teams? What's the one thing? Which should they say, hey, we just saw this podcast and this doctor at the USF was there and they're talking about catastrophic. Is this something that I should be concerned as a board or as a leader of one of these organizations?
Yes, I mean, like in the context of my work, I would recommend anyone who is deploying any AI system into production to have a solid evaluation pipeline to be able to monitor what the quality of the AI system outputs constantly. So you can't, in my opinion, deploy a system and not know what it's generating.
Could they use a tool like yours? Are you guys production ready or?
We're mainly focusing on frontier models, or yes, organizational models that are fine-tuned, because fine-tuning also changes the properties of the frontier models. So if a frontier model is already evaluated for certain metrics, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the same once we fine-tune on proprietary data. It's going to change the property of models. So in that context, yes, we just provide the evaluation results. Yes, I think there are also other platforms who provide the evaluation sort of dashboards for companies. So definitely either outsource evaluation or build evaluation. That's my advice.
So, do you think, I mean, similar that, I mean, we have home insurance for catastrophic stuff, and, if we put alarm detection or if we have a new roof. So, do you see what you guys are building, something that is going to be shifting into an insurance requirement kind of thing? Because if they are insuring those corporations, and again, I haven't thought hard enough, but that sounds like if I'm an insurance company, something that I should be thinking about to basically hedge my risk as an insurance company? I don't know. Is
Yeah,
that the way you guys are thinking about it?
that could be a good area for insurance companies to think about, like maybe liabilities. If a company is deploying an AI model, then they're bound to, and they have liability towards their customers. Like, you've probably heard of character AI case where they allow users to create these characters and deploy them as chatbots, and people, and like a few years ago, one of those characters contributed to the suicide of a 14-year-old boy in Florida. So is character that AI and they settled actually with the boy's family. But again, that caused them probably a lot of cost and bad propaganda. So I think as companies are deploying AI systems, they should think about the liabilities as well.
Should they also think, I mean, there is the misperception, I mean, there is still ambiguity because the technology is moving so fast and policy is also changing. Do you think there is awareness that the risk is the company's risks, no matter whose model you're using, as opposed to, oh, no, the model told me to do this and I did it, and suddenly I'm going to point my fingers. So do you think there's, A, where do you stand in that debate? And B, is there awareness out there with leaders and trustees that end of the day is their organizations that are the ones carrying the risk as opposed to the technology developers?
Absolutely. It's the organizations. If they're deploying a product with an AI system ingrained in it, I think that organization is liable, not the developer of the AI system necessarily.
And do you think today they're paying enough attention when they're reviewing those contracts when models get deployed?
Yeah, a lot of people are not aware of what the safety risks are. There are certain very few metrics are being viewed, which is mainly capability metrics, which is what is the hallucination is not a capability, it's mainly a propensity, but there's debate on that. But hallucination is one metric that is viewed a lot. And then there is the task completion rate, right? And helpfulness. Those are the things that people care about, but they don't care about a lot of other metrics such as honesty or sycophancy of a model, that those all could lead to risks in future or degree of bias that is ingrained in an AI system, depending on the use case.
Thank you. We still have a couple more minutes to go. So how do you, again, going back to hype, everybody's talking growth, everybody's talking, embedded AI and cars that drive themselves. So how do you stand, how do you get leaders' attention when you talk about catastrophic risk on AI? I mean, and this is from somebody whose research also is not sexy, which is AI governance. Nobody wants to hear about governance or catastrophic. So how do you communicate? How do you want to make sure that boards and trustees are bringing that to the upfront, because there are consequences, and those consequences are huge and they're real, right? We're not talking about something that is coming. You're talking something that is here, especially with the complexities that we discuss, and this model changing all the time, as you mentioned. And every time changes, I gotta believe some of those risks they get mitigated, but others get enhanced.
Right. Right. It's just a matter of staying on top of this, right? Or having people who can actually catch up with how this industry is developing. So, and know about the risks. There's a lot of research academic papers that are published every day on the risks.
Mhm.
So it does take a lot of work to stay on top of the cutting edge research that is happening right now. And I think for someone who's educated enough, can't deny the risks. Now, if we don't have time, maybe we can listen to the celebrated scientists in the field, like Joshua Bengio. He does produce a lot of reports, talks, warning people of the risks. So if we don't have time to understand everything around the risk, we don't have money or time to hire someone who keeps up with the rate of changes, then we have to have a set of people whose words matter to us and we trust what they say. So there, any of these solutions, one of them at least should happen.
Excellent. So to wrap up, so this has been amazing, by the way. I learn every time I talk to you, I learn a great deal. And I think this is something that our audience should be aware, should put it there on their deck, because this is something that, they has repercussions and they're here and they're real. So your final thoughts as we close this amazing space with you?
My final thoughts, it's we always have to be evaluating pros and cons to everything and prioritize human and at macro level at least over personal gains.
Excellent. So thank you again, Mana. I mean, I appreciate the time. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, this amazing venture that you're working on. We'd love to follow up with you and hopefully have more people on your team and see how this evolve. Again, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Freddie. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of AI Governance with Dr. Freddie Seba. For more insights, be sure to subscribe and share with a friend or colleague on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Podcasts. To learn more, visit freddieseba.com. Until next time.